Let's talk media, and there's always plenty to talk about with Sophie Elsworth, media writer at The Australian, every Monday. Good to talk to you, Sophie. You've got to tell me about your thoughts on this character assassination of Scott Morrison. But, you know, sure, fire away at the PM all you like, but when the media just regurgitates stories that have been reported years ago, no new elements to them, and make it a front page news, something's wrong, isn't it?
Well, Chris, I saw your editorial at the top of the program. You made some really valid points there, that this is basically dredging up an old character assassination on the Prime Minister. But what is concerning here is how the media cover this story. Now, I noticed that the ABC bulletins, as you touched on, Chris, in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, all led with this on Saturday night as their main story. Now, when we had the Mean Girls bullying story with Kimberley Kitching, the late senator, I noticed that some of the stories on that were buried within the news bulletin. So this is where it falls down, that the leftist media and the partisan ABC broadcaster give far more prominence to stories that are anti-coalition than to those, Chris, that are anti-Labor. And this is where there is problems in the media for being so heavily left, Chris.
That is a great comparison, and for those of you who tuned in later and didn't see me explain this at the top of the program, this story was reported at the time. All of the allegations involving aspects of Lebanese nationality and Scott Morrison's campaigning, all of this was reported again 4 years ago when Scott Morrison became Prime Minister. So it is not new, therefore it is not news. It's all been denied and dealt with years ago, yet this is how the ABC led their news bulletins on Saturday night.
Race and religion. Scott Morrison rejects claims he used an opponent's Lebanese background against them in a bitter battle to enter Parliament.
You didn't say those words?
No. A theme comes through about the Prime Minister's character.
Hello, I'm Karina Carvalho. This is ABC News.
Just extraordinary stuff, as Sophie pointed out. As you pointed out, Sophie, the difference between stories, depending on the political angle, is extraordinary. I want to stick with the ABC, though, and talk about who they're going to get in to not only host the 7:30 program now, but they need also a new executive producer, because the existing executive producer is going on to the $600,000 a year job of running their news division. And there's talk, of course, that Sarah Ferguson and her husband Tony Jones could come back. Another revelation in The Australian today as a double team act, the husband and wife, executive producer and host.
That's right, Chris. This was in The Australian's media diary today. Look, the ABC's had quite a lot of editorial changes. We saw that announcement of the new news director, Justin Stevens, and now they're left with having to replace him as 7:30 executive producer, and also Lee Sales, who's departing in June. So there's big holes to fill here, Chris. But I think what we need to see more at the public broadcaster is not about diversity of race, gender and so forth, which they're absolutely obsessed with. It's having a diverse range of voices on the ABC, and they continue to put leftist journalists in these plum roles. So it'll be really interesting to see who they pick for this job, particularly as 7:30 host. I think Lee Sales did a pretty good job, but they just keep putting in leftist journalists, and this is what the ABC does. They love the leftist journalists, and if you're not part of the club, you're on the outer. So it'll be really interesting to see who they put in this position, Chris.
It will indeed, Sophie. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Sophie Elsworth. You can read her stuff in The Australian. I'll just show you quickly an old story of Sarah Ferguson's from when she was with Four Corners. Have a look.
Tonight, we begin our special three-part investigation into the story of the century, the election of US President Donald Trump and his ties to Russia.
There you go, the story of the century, three-part series, all wrong. If they're going to get her to host 7:30, she might want to apologise and correct that massive series first.